Together as we chant the Bhagavad Gita verse. This week is verse 11. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Balam balavatam chaham. Balam balavatam chaham. Kamaragavi varjitam. Balam balavatam chaham. Kamaragavi varjitam. Dharma viruddha bhuteshu. Dharma viruddha bhuteshu. Kamosmi bharatarshabha. Kamosmi bharatarshabha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kandhayalal ki jai. Again, a very warm welcome to all of you who have joined us this morning. If you joined us last week, you know that we discussed verse 10 of chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita. This morning, we will talk briefly about verse 11. Verse 11 says, Balam balavatam chaham kamarag vivarjitam. Dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshabha. So Krishna here is saying that though he's calling Arjuna the best of Bharatas, right? That balam balavatam, that in all those people who are very strong, that I am their strength. However, Kamarag, not only am I their strength, but I'm their strength with some strings attached. What does that mean? That whatever strength anyone shows, anyone exhibits, whatever that strength is, Bhagavan is saying that I am that strength, however, devoid of Kama and Raga, devoid of desire and devoid of attachment. So this is the strength that Bhagavan is talking about. Any strength that is devoid of desire and attachment. Now, the word desire here needs to be qualified a little bit. If we have time, we'll do it. So what we should remember for now, that almost everything is a desire. And so sometimes it is not even possible for anything to happen without a desire. So when Bhagavan says desire, he doesn't mean that anything that takes the shape of a desire is bad. So this would have to be qualified, but when we get there, this desires is mentioned again in the second line. Kamosmi bharatarshabha. Kam here means desire. So when we get there, we'll qualify it. But for now, adharmic desires is what we should keep in mind. So Bhagavan is saying that I am the strength in human beings, devoid of desires and attachment. So balam, balavatam asmi means that is me. I am the strength and the strong. He's explaining this nature of his strength. He says that, Bhagavan says here that this strength is that which is serene, that which is sublime. The serene and the sublime and the dharmic and the righteous strength in people is Asmi. That is me. that strength which empowers them to successfully fulfill their duties and their responsibilities, that strength, in order to accomplish those things, that is my strength. So here what we have to realize as Hindus, as aspirants of God, whether you're Hindu or not, is that when we have a particular type of strength, then we have to know what is the root of that strength. Last week we talked about Bijam Mam Sarva Bhutanam, the seed. We have to realize what the seed is, what the source is. Not only realize, but we have to honor, we have to appreciate and behave in such a manner that shows gratitude and understanding of that source. There's an example here of, this is a very beautiful katha in Mahabharata, which we can't necessarily go through in details, but we all know of the time when, right before the war, and this katha is in the Udyog Parva of Mahabharata. Udyog Parva means the fifth book, fifth canto. In the 7th chapter of the 5th book of Mahabharata, this katha is explained very beautifully. So there was a time when, right before the war, when Arjuna and Duryodhana went to Sri Krishna because they needed his help. They needed his help to make them stronger in the war. So what happened is that Arjuna had left and went to see Duryodhana, to see Bhagavan Sri Krishna. When Duryodhana heard that Arjuna has gone to Krishna, Duryodhana went as well. Duryodhana went with the way of travels. He was a king, or at least he usurped the kingdom from his father. He saw himself as a king. So he had very fast horses, according to Mahabharata, that moved the pace of wind. And so he got there to Dwarika, where Sri Krishna was living, before Arjuna. So he got there, and this is what happened. According to Mahabharata, this is the 8th verse of the 7th chapter. What we'll get to find out here also is the mercy of Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, 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 Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Tata Syane Govinde Praveshe Suyodhana Achirvastasya Krishnasya Nishada Varasane Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, 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 Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Kanhayalal ki jai. Tata Syane Govinde Praveshe Suyodhana. So now we're talking about understanding strength. When we understand that Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita that the strength that we have is his strength, then we won't be flaunting our strength in various ways, whether it's, intellectual strength, whether it's physical strength, whatever type of strength it is, we won't flaunt it. If we don't understand that this strength, the origin of this strength, the maintainer, the person who maintains the strength is Bhagavan, then we'll misuse it also. Some of us, we go to the point when we forget the existence of God, and we think that everything that we have possession of, everything that we have the potential to do, or everything that we have the ability to do is just us. And this is what Duryodhana taught. And so Duryodhana went and he what? Achirchatasya Krishnasya. With the abhiman in his head that he's a king and that he's so powerful and that he has come to fortify whatever he's already has got. So he came to Krishna, and with his abhiman in his head of his power and his mighty army, and having Bhishma Pitamaha and Kripacharya and Dronacharya, only to mention a few of the most powerful warriors current on his side, he still went to Krishna because he wanted something. But with his abhiman in his head, he went and he sat where? Achirchatasya, he sat by the head of Sri Krishna. Now in the 9th verse, it says, Tata kariti tasyanu pravivesha mahatmana paschachaiva sa krishnasya prahavo tishtat kritanjali. Arjun reached there as well. He reached to Dwarka where Krishna was living. And Arjun did what? Paschachaiva sa krishnasya. Arjun took a seat. Prabho tishtat kritanjali. Kritanjali, with his hands folded. He took a seat by the feet of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Why is this important? Does it matter who sits by the head and who sits? But this is a way to show humility of someone who has spiritual superiority over you. Not necessarily spirituality in the form of wealth or status or intellect or anything like that. Spiritual, divine superiority. When you go as a student, then you take your seat at the feet of such a person. All the shishyas, the devotees of saints, they sit at his feet and not by his head. Sitting at the feet is an indication that you're here to learn and you're here to gain. If you sit by the head is where the knowledge is. You're sending and you're giving an indication to this person that you're the same with him in knowledge and power. So this is why Duryodhana sat by the head. Oh, I'm equal with him. Because he saw Krishna as a man. Arjun saw himself as a student. And so he sat by the feet of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So what happened? Bhagavan Sri Krishna at that time was taking, a little nap. The other verse tells us, Pratibuddha Savarshnoyo Darashargre Kiritanam Satayo Swagatam Kritva Yathavat Pratipujyato. So Bhagavan Sri Krishna was taking a nap and so he was awakened. When he woke up, then naturally, when you're sleeping, if someone is facing you, if someone is sitting by your feet side, then what? You see them first. You cannot see the person who's sitting by your head because they're actually behind you. As soon as your eyes open, you see straight ahead of you. So because Duryodhana chose to disrespect Bhagavan, a person who you take an elevated seat or by the head of someone of superior divinity, that is a clear case of disrespect and a clear case of exercising your abhiman, of not caring anything about spirituality or divinity, but you're only seeing the world by way of power, of strength. Krishna opened his eyes and he saw Arjuna. Duryodhana wasted no time. He said to Krishna, "Hey, Krishna, I know you saw Arjuna first, you're talking to him, but I'm right here. And I want to let you know that I came here first." He told Bhagavan, "I was here first." Kanhaya says Arjuna. He says Duryodhana. He called him Suyodhan, right? That's another reason, because he treated him with love and with respect. Su, like when you say, let's take for example, you have Putra, right? Putra, you call him son. When you say Suputra, means like my loving son, my dear son. It's an endearing term. So Suyodhan. So he said, "I know you're here, and I don't doubt you that you have come first. However, Drishtastu Pratamam Rajan." Drishtastu. Pratamam means first. Drishtastu, Krishna is saying to Duryodhana that here Rajan, he's calling him a king as well. Maya Partho Dhananjaya Drishtastu Pratamam. That even though you were here first, I saw Arjuna first. What happens here? When you exercise the Abhiman and you lose track of your spirituality, then you come up short. So this is a loss. One of the first things that Duryodhana would have lost on in life. Krishna saw Arjuna first and told him that I saw Arjuna first, because he was sitting by the head. However, Bhagavan Sri Krishna is not only choosing Arjuna to choose first or ask what is it he can do for the two of them, but he quoted. Krishna quoted the scripture and says that Pravaranam tu balanam purvakarya miti shruti. This is the 27th verse of the same chapter. He says that Duryodhana, I would ask Arjuna first what he needs. Why? Because balanam, because he's younger. Purvakarya iti shruti. Purya shruti. All the scriptures say that when such a thing is happening, the one who's younger gets to go first. According to Shruti, according to Smriti, according to scriptures. So Sri Krishna is telling Duryodhana, so this is why I have to ask Arjuna first. So he asked Arjuna that, look, I know you came first, but I will ask Arjuna first. So Arjuna, what can I do for you? So obviously, Arjuna made his request. Sri Krishna said to them that, look, there are two things I can offer to the two of you today. One, I have a huge army, very, very powerful. No army can defeat this army. It's called a Narayana army. Thousands and thousands of soldiers. Now one of you will get this entire army. And one of you, I will help in the war. However, I would help with a condition. And the condition is, I would not lift any weapon in this war. Duryodhana, his mind is going like, "Hey, who wants that?" Nobody wants that. Why? Because Duryodhana, seeing his strength, his own strength, and not coupled with spirituality. He sees Krishna as a man, meaning he's ignoring his spirituality and his divinity. So he got nervous when Kanhaya asked Arjuna first. But as we know the Katha, Arjuna did what? Evamastu Krishnena Kunti Putro Dhananjaya. Kunti Putra means Arjuna. Ayudhyamanam means the one who will not fight, means Krishna. The one who will not fight, Arjuna chose that person. So Arjuna chose Sri Krishna. What did Duryodhana do? He was extremely happy. He thought that Arjuna is such a pagal. That why would you have such a great army and choose Krishna, who would not even, help him to fight, would not take up a weapon. So, what happened? Duryodhanastu tata sainyam sarvamaravarayata tada sahasranam sahasretu yodhanam prapya bharata. 23rd verse. Duryodhan was extremely happy and he said, since Arjuna has chosen you, Krishna, now he's making up this fake excuse. Since Arjuna has chosen you, then I will take the army. He left there extremely happy. He thought that he won, that he got the thing that he came for. He didn't want Krishna because he saw him as a man. However, this is an example, and so we know the result of the war, right? We know the result of the Kauravas versus the Pandavas. Righteousness versus unrighteousness, we know the result. The Kauravas were the entire Narayana army, Sahasranam, thousands and thousands of soldiers, together with most of the other kings in the world and their armies. They were all defeated by spirituality, by divinity, because Arjuna associated his strength, wielding the Gandiva bow, but he knew that he needed a strong dose of spirituality if you were to come out on top of anything. If not, you will come up short. You may win little battles, but you will lose the war if your approach is devoid of any spirituality. This is what is called strength. This is strength in unison with spirituality, with dharma. When you do that, you surely will come out on top. If you misunderstand your power that you have and you associate it only with you, because people say that the Abhiman lives in you, but for many people live in the Abhiman. They create this protective barrier, this halo, if you will. They protect this thing where they operate within the confines of the Abhiman. They only say things and do things that will suit their Abhiman. If someone says anything that the Abhiman doesn't accept, it causes a war. It causes all kinds of trouble, sleepless nights, etc. This is how Duryodhan was thinking. And the German scholar Paul Deussen, he says that egotism is like a cloud that keeps God hidden from our sight. Duryodhan was sitting in front of Bhagavan, couldn't see him. Why? Because the vision is veiled by Abhiman. So he didn't choose Krishna. He chose brutal strength. He thought that is what takes you through life. There's no better time for us to learn now that all these things that we have, this brutal strength, the amount of wealth we have, these things cannot save us anymore. In this time of COVID-19, we see the world's most powerful people. They're all in hiding. The world's richest people, all in hiding. The world's smartest people, all taking protective measures. Everybody has all of a sudden become one. The illiterate and the scholar, the rich and the poor, the non-entity and the one of high social status. Everybody's hiding and protecting themselves. This is when we tap into that there's one common thread now. Remember a few weeks ago we talked about that thread that holds the mala together. You remember that katha? Bhagavan says, I am that thread. He holds us together. The other things that we think are important to us are just things that are here with us during this life, and then it will go. But we remain. Bhagavan remains. Deussen says that if egotism vanishes, then God is seen in His full glory. But that wasn't possible. There's a really beautiful doha that I want to quote from Kabir Das. Really beautiful in meaning. Let's see the words. अब हरि है अब नाही, प्रेम गली अति साकरी, या में द्वै न समाही। बोलो राम बोलो राम बोलो राम बोलो राम, राजा राम राजा राम राजा राम राजा राम। तात अब हरि नहीं अब हरिमय, अब हरिहय मई नाही. What this means is that prema gali ati sakari yame dvain samahi. That this prem gali, gali, as you know, it means like a road, right? Like a small road, like in the West Indies, I think we call it a gully, like a small path. So prem gali means the path of love. That the path of love is so narrow that there's room for only one person can fit in this path of love. Prema gali ati sakari. Yo mai dvai na samai. Cannot accommodate two people. What are these two entities that Doha is talking about? This prem gali, this path of love can only accommodate God or I. I meaning the Abhiman. That the path of love is so narrow that it cannot accommodate God and Abhiman at the same time. You cannot fit. So clearly, as long as we as human beings are about I and our Abhiman, we will not have a place in the path of love. We will not be able to be accommodated in the pathway in Bhakti Marg, in the path of love, which is the only path to take us to Bhagwan in this age of Kali. Hari Vyapak Sarvatra Samana, Premate Pragat Hoi Mai Jana. Premate Pragat. God is only revealed, Ramayana, to us through love. So the day we annihilate this that is called the Abhiman, we will experience bliss. We will be able to jump on the bandwagon on the Prem Gali, on the pathway of love. Because, Bhagavan himself, he cut the ego of so many personalities that we know. Brahmaji, Vayu, the Lord of wind, Agni, Lord of fire. There are beautiful kathas in the scripture, says that Bhagavan, he has cut the pride of all these individuals. Why? Because they have a place where they help Bhagavan to administer the affairs of the universe. But they don't build karma, so when their Abhiman is taking over, it means that the universe would not be run well and Bhagavan steps in. For us, the question you may have now, so why is Bhagavan not helping us cut our ego out so that we can also attain him? No. We have what is called free will. We have the human body, which is the greatest gift of us of all. We build our own universe. We build our own destiny. Our destiny is in our hands. You can choose to be a slave of your ego, or you can choose Bhagavan and attain bliss, or keep yourself extremely limited in all the things you do, like Duryodhan, eventually being destroyed. So because we have the ability to build our own universe, Bhagavan says, you go ahead. But the other individuals, they are helping to run the universe, so Bhagavan has helped them. This is another katha, but we remember Bhumirapo Anulo Vayu Kambamba Buddhi Vedacha Ahamkaram. That the body is made up of the 5 things we know, but also Man, Buddhi and Ahamkar. Mind, intellect and ego. This doesn't come to an end. If we miss training the mind now and we become slaves to our Abhiman, you know what happens? it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Because the two bodies that is within this body, there are two more bodies within this one. This one is called the Sthul Sharir. There's a Sukshma Sharir, a subtle body, and there is a Karana Sharir. Both the Sukshma Sharir also has the mind, intellect, and ego. The same one that we have now. So it doesn't come to an end. It gets worse. Remember we talked last night, whatever you put energy to, it grows last week. So if you give energy to the Abhiman, it will grow. And it will evolve. And the next time you have a human body, it will be so much worse than this time. And we know what happens to people, the example of Duryodhana, if they don't have control over it. So don't think it comes to an end when this body comes to an end. This is Sanatana philosophy. That is why it is imperative for us to know the philosophy. If not, we'll keep making mistakes as human beings, and we will not be able to attain God or enjoy peace in this life. Anyways, coming back to the Katha briefly, just to finish this one point, that when Bhagavan talks about strength, that I am the strength in all human beings, he's not talking about the strength of a wrestler. He's talking about the strength of character. He's talking about the strength of personality, the strength of integrity, the power of your morals and your principles. This is the strength Bhagavan is talking about. This is divine dharmic strength. Because to develop physical strength, it requires dedication. But these other strengths we have within us, all we have to do is manifest them, bring them, let them take front and center in our operations, in our daily activities, in our words. Because when you want to build up any other strength, then it requires, a lot of practice and dedication. For example, if for people who have like big biceps, for example, if you have big muscles, right? What do you have to do? Those people are not born with these big muscles. They work for them. They have to work really hard, years and years and years, to have big muscles. But what we have without those muscles, what we have within us, is the power to accomplish anything, even without those muscles. So the strength Bhagavan is talking about is the power within us, combined with your external power, the power of your biceps and your triceps, etc. If we realize this and we combine them, then we're able to accomplish anything. So there is this latent potentiality within us, in the strong people, this power that sits very quietly, that is not being awakened like Hanumanji's power. No one is reminding us. Bhagavad Gita is reminding us, so we should take heed. So from this we will learn that the power, the person who has power, who's very strong, cannot say that I am strong, it's all due to my efforts. But we should always know that this is Bhagavan's strength. We should use it to do the right thing. In the same way, Bhagavan says a few weeks ago, I am the Buddhi, I am Tejas, the brilliance in the brilliant. He says, I am Tapasvi, I am the sharpness in the sharp, etc. So, Kama Raga Vivarjatam. To finish this one more point, Bhagavan says, strength, Kama Raga Vivarjatam. Strength that is devoid of desire and attachment. What is that equal to? It's equal to detachment. Because Bhagavan says that you should have this but detach from it. If you're attached to your power, your biceps and your triceps, you'll walk around all over the place flaunting, how powerful you are. Because you're not remembering the source of that power. So detachment, sometimes when we hear, this is a scary word, detachment. We think it means to give up everything. No. Detachment actually means that it doesn't mean that you owe nothing. But what it means is that nothing owns you. That is attachment. Because attachment, this attachment will harm us in ways that we don't even realize. The Dalai Lama says attachment constrains our vision, so that we are not able to see things from a wider perspective. Wider perspective here means a spiritual perspective. We're not able to see these things. Why? Because that is what attachment does to us. What desire does to us, ill-directed desire, if even it's attained, then it causes attachment. And if it's not attained, it causes anger. So to the extent you have attachment and desire, you're dependent on the world for strength, right? That makes sense, right? Doesn't it? If you're attached to external things, it makes you depend on the world for strength. And we know Bhagavan says the strength is his own. The strength and the strong. But Bhagavan has it here with a qualification, that it should be without kama and raga, without the misappropriation of ahankar. And this is Bhagavan. When it is diluted with ahankar, we will seek to enhance it further. We'll try to accomplish more. While nothing is wrong with that, we should not try to accomplish more of that which is bad for you. And we will not necessarily do it in the spirit of service, but for self-aggrandizement, to flaunt it, essentially. So here, I wanted to use another example. Let me see if we have the time. All right, so one more example I wanted to use, but it is in the form of a little katha. It's a beautiful katha, but we don't have too much time, so we'll use it as a small katha. This is a katha that comes from Bhagavad Mahapuran. Why we're doing Bhagavad? Because we said the satkarmas that we should do in this time. In Purushottam Mas, we should read chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita. We should listen to the scriptures. We should read and listen to Bhagavad Mahapuran. So this is the last week we're in this month of Purushottam Mas. So let's do a little bit of Bhagavad, not too much, just so that we can fulfill that and we can make another point based on our katha today. This katha, it's called a Gajendra Moksha Katha, for those of you who know it. So let's see what happens in this katha. This serves to support and to solidify, and substantiate for the point we're making, and then after this katha we shall close. So this is what happens. This comes from the 8th canto, the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Mahapuran. Narayan Karunamay Sharanam, Jai Lakshmi Pati Vishnu Sharanam. Narayan Karunamay Sharanam, Jai Lakshmi Pati Vishnu Sharanam. Savai Purvam Bhudaraja Pandyo Dravi Sattamaha Indadumna iti khyato Vishnu Brata Parayana. Narayana Karuname Sharanam, Jai Lakshmi Pati Vishnu Sharanam. Narayana Karuname Sharanam, Jai Lakshmi Pati Vishnu Sharanam. Jai 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 Narayana Sharanam, Jai 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 Narayana जय जय विष्णुपति चरणम जय 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 विष्णुपति चरणम नारायण करुणामय शरणम जय लक्ष्मीपति विष्णु शरणम जय लक्ष्मीपति विष्णु शरणम जय लक्ष्मीपति विष्णु शरणम. Like I said, this is called Gajendra Moksha Katha. This is Bhagavad Katha. The 7th verse here, that there was a king whose name was Indradumna. Indradumna Maharaj ruled over a country called Pandya. You know, Savai Purma Bhuda Raja Pandyo. He ruled over a country called Pandya. This is according to Bhagavad Mahapuran, and he was a devotee. He was a devotee of Bhagavan Vishnu in his previous life as a king. So Indradumna Maharaj would leave his palace sometimes and he'll go into the forest to do meditation, being a devotee. And so one day when he was doing meditation, a great sage with a popular name called Agastya Muni, the great sage Agastya Muni, visited this ashram together with some of his disciples. We'll make this katha very short. And so when he got there, he recognized that the king is sitting there. Indradumna Maharaj is sitting in sadhana. He's doing meditation. But Agastya Muni is a great sage. And so he recognized that this devotee, this king, is sitting there not moving. Usually, when someone comes to your home, you do what is called, there's Atiti Devo Bhava. When a visitor comes to your home, you treat them to the best of your ability. Scriptures say that you should treat them like a devata. But the king was sitting there not moving, even though a great sage came to give darshan to him in his ashram, where he was doing meditation. He sat silent, he did not move, he gave no reception at all to the great sage. He gave up all the different etiquette that we have to have of offering a good reception to a great person when they come, to a family or to a saint. And so Agastya Muni was disappointed. He was disappointed, and this is what he said. Tasmamimam shapamadad sadhu Rayam duratmakrita buddhiradya Vipravamantam vipatam tamasram Yata gajastham badamati saeva. This is the 10th verse of Bhagavad Mahapuran, same chapter, 4th chapter. Agastya Muni, because he was so disappointed and thought this is deliberate disrespect from Indradumna, because he was a king, he thought he was greater than Agastya Muni, and so he pronounced a curse on him. So the king Indradumna got a curse, and this curse was not just any curse. The Agastya Muni is saying that, just because he's a king, he has disrespected a saint. Therefore, he'll have to, if he wants to stay in darkness meaning opposite to spirituality, if he wants to behave in an inhuman manner, a human has an intellect and they should behave in a particular way, different from animals. But if he wants to be animalistic, then I'll help him. Agastya Muni placed a curse on him that he'll become an elephant in his next life. Because this is respect, and this is disrespect at different levels to Agastya Muni. So a course was given to the king, Indradumna. So what happened to him? Let's find out from Bhagavad. Radha Ramana Radharamana Gopijana Jivana Radharamana 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 Gopijana Jivana Radharamana Tasadonyam Bhagavato Varunasya Mahatmana Udyanamrituman Nama Akridam Surayoshitam Radharamana Radharamana Gopijana Jivana Radharamana 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 Gopijana Jivana Radharamana Gaye Radharamana Radharamana Gopijana Jivana Radharamana 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 Gopijana Jivana Radharamana Gopijana Jivana Radharamana Gopijana Jivana Radharamana Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai. So the king, then when he lost his human body, then he was reborn as an elephant. He was reborn as an elephant living in the valley according to Bhagavad Mahapuran. This is the 9th verse. He lived in the valley of a mountain called the Trikuta mountain. There was a beautiful garden there. Adyanam Ritumannam. So this garden where he lived was called Ritumat. And this again was by the valley of the Trikuta mountain. There was a beautiful lake there as well. But this lake was just not any lake. This lake was created there by Varun Devta. So this lake was used for all these, animals to have a good time, to cool themselves off, to have beautiful flowers, etc. So this elephant that was Indradumna in his previous life is now called Gajendra. Now this name we're all very familiar with. Gajendra is now an elephant, not just any elephant, but he is the king of the elephants in the jungle. There's this pond there where, there are lots of fruits and flowers and everything. And so Indradumna was born there as Gajendra. So one day he thought, it's a little bit hot that, he'll walk to the lake together with all his followers and he'll take a bath in the lake. And so Gajendra went there and he's having a really good time. Remember, he was a devotee in his last life. And suddenly, while bathing, a crocodile attacked Gajendra. Caught him by his foot at the back, and the crocodile is not releasing Gajendra. Gajendra was the king of the elephants there because he was the most powerful one. He was so powerful that he could not be defeated by any of the elephants. A crocodile is no match to him. And so when he went there, Gajendra found out, because he was so proud of his strength, that nothing can bother him. That is why he was the king of the jungle. But he realized all of a sudden that he cannot let go. He cannot extricate himself from this crocodile. The crocodile is not letting go, and all his strength that he had is not being sufficient to help him to get away from this crocodile. So all the power is in vain all of a sudden. All his relatives that were there with him, they tried to help him, but they couldn't. When they saw that Gajendra would be defeated, they all left him. They all went away, because the crocodile would not let up. And so what happened, Gajendra started screaming when he knows now, after a long battle, that he cannot win this battle. He started screaming in pain. Finally, because he was a devotee in his last life, Gajendra thought, you know what? Today is when I will die. I didn't think so, that I'll be defeated, in a strength matchup. But that is what would happen today. So I will die, because he was losing power now, and the crocodile is in his home, in his waters. He's gaining strength, and he's starting to defeat Gajendra. And so Gajendra, realizing that, he started calling out to Bhagavan. He started remembering his last life as a devotee. He remembered the prayers he used to use, and he's calling out on Bhagavan Vishnu. And from the lotus flowers in that lake, Gajendra, in the Dumna, he used to pluck a lotus flower and offer it to Bhagavan Vishnu every day. And so he remembered now that he'll be defeated. He says that the only problem I have today, he's saying in his mind that, Lord, I would not be able to make an offering to you again of lotus flower. And so Gajendra plucked a lotus flower, with his trunk, and he's offering it to Bhagavan. He held a lotus flower and he's making an offering to Bhagavan. When Gajendra did that, Bhagavad Mahapuran tells us what happens. बाल मुकुंद जय नंद लाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाला बाल मुकुंद जय नंद लाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाला जय गोपाला जय गोपाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाला जय गोपाला जय गोपाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाला बाल मुकुंद जय नंद लाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाल बाल मुकुंद जय नंद लाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाला एवं व्यवसितो बुद्ध्या समाध्याय मनो हृदि जजाप परमं जाप्यं प्राज्ञजन्मन्युशीक्षितम् बाल मुकुंद जय नंद लाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाल जय गोपाला जय गोपाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाल जय गोपाला जय गोपाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाला जय गोपाला जय गोपाला कृष्ण कन्हैया जय गोपाल. So the regret that came into his mind that he would not be able to offer a lotus flower to Bhagavan anymore, so he plucked this flower, he offered it to Bhagavan, he's praying out to Bhagavan to help him. Gajendra, this time he fixed his mind on Bhagavan because he's lost the battle. He was so proud of his strength that he had, not realizing that one day I'll be defeated by someone with more power than me, because they're comparing external power, not focusing on combining that external power with inner strength. And so the powerful Gajendra was about to be defeated. But Bhagavan, hearing Gajendra's prayers because he was a devotee from his last life. This is why Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Bhagavan is called Patita Pavan. That he is a friend of the weak. He's a friend of the fallen. So Bhagavan, hearing the call, he's now appearing as Bhagavan Vishnu with Sudarshan Chakra, and he's ready to help Gajendra. The prayer that came to Gajendra's mind, which is today, it's a very popular prayer, a prayer that is designed during this Leela. Gajendra uses prayer, Shuklang Baradaram Vishnum Shashivaranam Jaturbhujam Prasannavaranam Dhyayet Sarva Vigano Prashantaye. Gajendra is praying that, O Lord, he is describing Bhagavan Vishnu, the one who is a remover, Bigno, the one who removes obstacles from all devotees and bless them. Gajendra, remember that prayer. Also, if you're interested, there is something called a Gajendra Stuti, and this is in Bhagavad Mahapuran from verse 2 to verse 29. It's called a Gajendra Stuti. So that's a long prayer that you can use if you want to describe Bhagavan Sri Krishna and how to pray for protection. And so Bhagavan he has now approached. He has saved Gajendra, and he has cut the neck of this crocodile. But one more point we want to make here before we close. For those of us who've been following scriptures will know that if anyone or anything is killed by Bhagavan himself, then that person, that entity attains God's abode. We know of this, right? We know of Bali, Bali, the brother of Sugriv. Bhagavan killed him, so he attained his abode. We know of Kans. We know of Ravan. We know of Putana. All these were demons, but they were killed by Bhagavan, so they attained his abode. So Bhagavan killed this crocodile. Why is it deserving that this crocodile should be killed by Bhagavan? Is it because that he wanted to save Gajendra only? Bhagavan can just use his power and get the crocodile to release Gajendra. But that's not what happened. Let's look at the last shlok today to see what actually happened. Why did Bhagavan kill the crocodile as well? Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bo Keshav Madhava Hari Hari Bol. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bo Keshav Madhava Hari Hari Bol. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bo Keshav Madhava Hari Hari Bol. Yau graha savai sadhya Paramasharya charudrika Bhurgandharva sakkama Muktyo devala shapena. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bo Keshav Madhava Hari Hari Bol. Keshav Madhava Hari Hari Bol. Just a brief explanation. This crocodile in its previous birth, if we listen to the verse, we'll see that this crocodile also was a Gandharva king by the name of Huhu. The verse says, Huhur Gandharva. He was also a Gandharva king. And he also showed disrespect to a sage called Devala. Devala here, Mukto Devala Shapena. Devala shap, and he got a shap, as we said, from this king, from this Rishi Devala, because they were bathing in the lake, and the Rishi Devala was doing prayers, he was doing his argyam to Surya Narayan, Bhagavan. During that, this Gandharva king disrespected, he disturbed the Rishi doing his argyam, doing his offering to Surya Narayan Bhagavan. And so because of that, the Rishi said, okay, so if you think that you're very powerful in water and you can make life difficult and miserable for others, if you want to have power in water, then no problem. And he gave him a shrap. His curse was that he'll be born as a crocodile. So in the previous life of this crocodile also, he was a Gandharva king, and so it was time for him to be delivered also. And so when Bhagwan Vishnu came and released Gajendra, he also cut the neck of the crocodile. And the crocodile also resumed his original form as a Gandharva king, and he too was given a place in Bhagwan's abode. So there's a reason why the crocodile also was killed, and so both of them, Gajendra and the crocodile, they both were able to attain Bhagwan's abode. It goes to inform us, my dear brothers and sisters, that when we have Bhagavan in mind, if even we fail one time, Bhagavan is never going to give up on us. Remember, we discussed this last week, that a devotee of God never fails. No matter when, no matter how, no matter what the situation, Bhagavan will come to your rescue. All you have to do is not be so proud of what you can do, but do what you can do with the recognition and the knowledge and the appreciation of anything that I can do is because of God's grace. The power that I have is His power. What can I do to lift up the level of my devotion? I can chant His divine name. So let's group our voices together in this same chant and ask Bhagavan to bless us. In the same way that He blessed Gajendra, the same way that He blessed the crocodile, and they attained His abode. Mukunda Madhav Govinda Bo Keshav Madhav Hari Hari Bo Mukunda Madhav Govinda Bo Keshav Madhav Hari Hari Bo. बोलिए Hari Hari Bol, 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 Hari Hari Bol. Are you singing? Are you singing? Hari Bol, Hari means Bhagwan. Hari Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol, 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 oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, 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 Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. प्रेम से बोलो विष्णु भगवान की जय, श्री कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की जय।